You didn't find this message by chance. Something far deeper brought you here, something ancient that knows how to move through digital noise and reach you at the exact moment you're ready to hear it. You might think you're scrolling, just passing time, but the truth is, time itself has bent to place this transmission in front of you, because tonight, the field is alive. The quantum membrane between what you've been asking for and what has been asking for you has thinned to the width of a breath. You felt this strange pull lately, haven't you? That electricity in your chest when the clock strikes a repeating number, when a thought you had earlier in the day suddenly shows up in your reality. Those weren't coincidences. They were calibrations, tiny alignments, nudges from the field that's been reorganizing itself around your awareness. You thought you were manifesting outcomes, desires, goals, but the revelation waiting for you tonight is more radical. Manifestation itself has been using you as its portal. The universe has been reaching through your nervous system, using your consciousness as the living doorway where possibility collapses into form. Imagine this. A particle in quantum physics doesn't exist in one single state until it is observed. It hangs suspended in superposition, all outcomes woven into one shimmering cloud. Your life has been the same, every possible future orbiting you like stars in a constellation you haven't fully named. The act of you observing, feeling, desiring, that's the consciousness that chooses which star ignites. But here's the twist most teachings never reveal. It isn't only you choosing, the field chooses through you. Reality itself wants to experience new combinations, new beauty, new emergent forms. You are not just the dreamer, you are the aperture through which creation dreams itself awake. That is why you've been feeling restless, why the old patterns no longer satisfy, why even victories feel strangely hollow. Because the field is preparing to use you as a channel for something larger than you. Every meditation, every whispered intention, every journal entry wasn't just you trying to summon reality. It was reality trying to summon you into alignment, into coherence, into readiness. And tonight, this readiness has reached a threshold. You can feel it, can't you? That subtle pressure at the edge of your awareness, like the air before a thunderstorm. It's not anxiety, it's entanglement. Your desires have already entangled with timelines where they exist in fullness. They're pulling on you across dimensions, bending probability in your favor, urging you to step through. So pause for a moment, breathe. Notice how even now your body is responding, heart pacing differently, skin alive with currents you can't explain. That's the field touching you, reminding you that manifestation is not happening outside you. It's happening through you. Tonight, you are not just manifesting. Tonight, manifestation is manifesting you. And if you stay with me through this journey, you will discover why the patterns of your life have been leading to this exact intersection, why the quantum field has been whispering your name, and how to step into the role you were born for, the living portal of creation. You've noticed the loop, not just once, but again and again, different faces, same conversation, new city, same feeling, a fresh opportunity that somehow decays into the familiar flavor of stuck. You call it bad luck or a phase, but somewhere deeper you've known the pattern isn't random. It's an observer loop, the mind scanning for proof of what it already believes, the body reenacting an old survival rhythm, the field reflecting back the frequency you've been unconsciously broadcasting. So you wake into déjà vu. The day looks new, yet it wears yesterday's fingerprints. It's subtle at first. You step into a room and the air feels preloaded. Someone's sentence finishes itself in your head before they ever speak. The clock lands on mirrored numbers so often you stop telling friends about it. You sit down to work, and time fractures. Either it slips like water through your fingers, or it congeals into something thick, a syrup you have to push your attention through. When you ask why, the answer hides behind a fog of almost knowing. That's not failure. That is the quantum field trying to make you conscious of the code you're running. The code began as protection. You tuned yourself to survive certain rooms, certain tones, certain faces. You became an instrument that could dampen or amplify to keep you safe. Long after the threat dissolved, the tuning stayed. This is how coherence can become a cage, when your energy keeps reassembling into what's known, because the nervous system mistakes the known for the safe. The result: you broadcast a frequency whose harmonics call in the same plot lines, different costume, same script. You can feel it in your body's choreography, the shoulder tone that rises when an email arrives, the micro flinch around the eyes when someone you admire looks your way, the breath you hold before you open your banking app. This choreography is not random. It's morphic resonance inside your own system, patterns of posture, thought, and sentiment that echo each other until they become your weather. And when your weather repeats, your world repeats. So the synchronicities start to split into two categories: the sweet kind, the song that answers your question, the stranger who says the sentence you needed, the door that opens like it's been waiting only for you. And then the other kind, uncanny reruns that deliver the same lesson with unnerving precision. A new partnership that triggers the exact wound you promised yourself you were done with. An opportunity that mirrors the last one's timing so closely that your stomach knows the beat before your brain can hum along. Here's the part most people miss. Both kinds of synchronicity are guidance. The field is a mirror with a memory. It remembers the frequency you stabilized yesterday and shows it back to you today, not to trap you, but to make your choice clearer. You aren't being punished by repetition. You're being invited to observe the observer. Until you witness the witness, the loop keeps sneaking back in through the side door of habit. Notice how time itself distorts around these loops. On certain days, hours vanish, blink, and you're at sunset, wondering what you actually did. On other days, a single conversation stretches into an eternity, every second outlined in neon. This isn't just stress. It's entanglement lag, your consciousness tethered to two timelines at once, the one you've rehearsed for years and the one trying to be born through you. When you're split, time gets weird. Clocks obey coherence, not preference, and your coherence has been pledged half to safety and half to destiny, which is why your timeline flickers. There are clues in how you talk to yourself. You say, "I always" and "I never," like charms you don't realize you're casting. These phrases recruit the quantum field to maintain continuity, to preserve a character arc the world can predict. But you're not a character. You're a living aperture in an intelligent universe. When you say, "I always attract," the field smiles and gives you another chance to outgrow that sentence. When you declare, "I never," the field bows and holds the line until you demonstrate a new frequency with your breath, your posture, your choices. Your biology joins the conspiracy of habit. DNA isn't a static script, it's a responsive score. Under repeated emotional weather, especially fear, shame, or chronic vigilance, your epigenetic dials settle into defensive settings. Sensory systems sharpen for threat, reward circuits mistrust ease. Even your gut flora learns to digest stress as if it were food. This is why joy can feel suspicious at first. It's not that you're broken, it's that your internal orchestra has practiced the minor key so long, the major feels like a mistake. And still beneath the practiced minor, there is a second music. You hear it in liminal hours, when the house is quiet and your mind loosens its grip on the rails. It sounds like a future you can almost touch. It feels like hands on your back, not pushing, not pulling, just warming the spine, reminding the vertebrae they were designed to hold a bigger sky. That warmth is awakening. That second music is the quantum field composing through you, testing new motifs, asking if you're willing to modulate. Here's the pattern behind the patterns. Every loop begins with a micro-choice, so small you call it nothing. The opinion you swallow instead of speaking. The truth you soften to remain likable. The intuitive yes you postpone because logistics glare too loudly. These are the subatomic votes that collapse possibility into repeat reality. The field is exquisitely democratic. It tallies your smallest votes. The election of your next life is always happening at the level of these nearly invisible choices. You don't need to fix everything to break the loop. In physics, a phase transition doesn't require changing every molecule. It requires crossing a threshold that reorganizes the whole. Water doesn't turn to steam one droplet at a time. Temperature tips, and the system remembers a new state. Your life is waiting for such a tip. You can feel the heat rising. Old conversations no longer fit in your mouth. Rooms feel 2 sizes too small. Your calendar looks like an alibi for a self you've outgrown. That discomfort is not failure, it's pre-transition pressure. And if you're honest, you already know the places where coherence goes to die. The conversations that leave you grainy. The scroll that anesthetizes rather than nourishes. The habit that makes your hands cold. These are not moral flaws. They're unskillful stabilizers, ways you've kept the waveform from collapsing into a future your nervous system couldn't yet receive. But you're ready now. You wouldn't be hearing this if you weren't. So, we name the diagnosis without shaming the patient. Repeating observer loops, protective coherence, entanglement lag, and a nervous system tuned to the past. The remedy won't be another motivational spike that crashes by tomorrow. The remedy is a gentle but radical retuning breath by breath, sentence by sentence, so the field can hear a new song and agree. Before we move, feel this. Your patterns are not proof that destiny forgot you. They're proof that destiny is patient. It has rehearsed the lesson beside you until your body could bear the upgrade. And now, as you sit here with your shoulders softening and your jaw unclenching, the field notices. The mirror brightens. The code becomes editable. The loop recognizes it's been seen. You are not late. You are precisely on the threshold. And thresholds do what thresholds do. They open when you arrive with eyes open. Say nothing out loud. Just let your breath lengthen, let your spine align, and allow this understanding to settle like a key into a lock. The tumblers are already shifting. When you're ready, we'll step into the upgrade. The field has been staging for years with science in one hand, mysticism in the other. And you're living, yes, as the bridge between them. Now that you've seen the loop for what it is, the field is ready to reveal the architecture of the upgrade. Not a surface adjustment, not another affirmation plastered on a tired wall, but a molecular rewrite, a retuning of your entire system to become coherent with a reality your mind has barely begun to imagine. Look closely. The universe has been building pressure inside your field, the way a diamond forms under tectonic weight. Every repetition, every déjà vu wasn't simply torment, it was compression. And under compression, carbon becomes crystalline. You are standing at that brink, where your story is about to refract light instead of absorbing it. That refracting is the upgrade. Here's how it works. In quantum physics, reality is not made of matter as solid lumps. It is made of vibrating fields of probability. Particles are excitations of these fields, like notes in a cosmic symphony. You, too, are an instrument vibrating inside the orchestra of existence. When your inner state is incoherent, fear here, hope there, shame buried underneath the notes clash. Dissonance radiates, and the field mirrors it back through delay, confusion, repeated lessons. But coherence is different. When thought, feeling, breath, and body all sing the same frequency, you become like a laser beam, energy concentrated, intention undeniable, vibration amplified. A coherent beam doesn't just wander through probability. It cuts a pathway, reorganizing matter to follow its precision. This is the very principle behind the miracles you've witnessed in glimpses, the perfect timing, the effortless alignment, the opportunities that just showed up. That's coherence at play. The upgrade begins by shifting you from fractured broadcasting into unified resonance, not by erasing your shadows, but by integrating them so thoroughly that they no longer scatter your signal. Integration is not fixing, it is allowing. Every rejected part of you, every memory you pushed down, every moment you deemed not spiritual enough, becomes fuel when reintegrated. This is why mystics and physicists agree, nothing is wasted, not even your mistakes. In the field, all energy is usable. DNA holds the key. For decades, science called the majority of human DNA junk, but new discoveries show it is responsive, dynamic, a vast symphonic sheet waiting for cues. Emotions are those cues. Thoughts are those cues. Beliefs are those cues. When you shift your inner frequency, you are literally rewriting the biochemical permissions your DNA gives your cells. Entire cascades of proteins, neurochemicals, and hormones reorganize under the sway of coherence. That sudden surge of vitality when you align, that's not placebo, it's epigenetic ignition. And here's the mystery unveiled. When you reach coherence, you don't just manifest outcomes. Outcomes begin to manifest through you. The quantum field recognizes a clear channel and pours creation through your very body. You feel it as electricity at the edges of your skin, as heat behind your eyes, as words that flow out of your mouth with wisdom you didn't know you carried. You've had flashes of this. Those conversations where you felt carried, those days where the right people found you without effort. That was the field borrowing your coherence as a portal. But tonight, the field doesn't want flashes, it wants permanence. It is recruiting you as a stabilized aperture of creation, someone who can hold coherence long enough for realities to walk through you into form. This is why you've been experiencing what felt like breakdown. The system cannot carry the upgrade unless the old scaffolding collapses. The jobs that fell away, the relationships that disintegrated, the routines that stopped working, none of that was sabotage. It was demolition. Space was being cleared so that coherence could find anchor points inside you. Let's go deeper. You've heard of quantum entanglement, the phenomenon where two particles, once connected, remain instantly linked across any distance. What one experiences, the other reflects. This isn't metaphor, it's physics, and it is happening inside your life. Every desire you've sent into the field has already entangled with a version of you who lives in alignment with it. That version exists, alive in a parallel probability stream. The upgrade is not you creating that version, it's you tuning into resonance with them until the barrier between you collapses and you merge. That is why you feel the strange pull of déjà vu toward your own dreams. The future you is tugging. The entangled version is signaling, leaking its coherence back through time to remind you of the music you already know. Synchronicities are not signs from out there, they're echoes from in there, vibrations from your entangled self making ripples in your current field. So the question is not whether the upgrade is possible. The upgrade is inevitable. The only question is whether you will choose to cooperate with it. Cooperation means surrendering your allegiance to the loop. It means no longer broadcasting frequencies that contradict your future self. It means letting coherence have its way with you. Close your eyes for a moment and feel the difference. Incoherence feels like static, like leaning forward into a fog. Coherence feels like verticality, like your spine is a tuning fork resonating with some invisible pitch. That pitch is the upgrade. It's been humming behind you for years, waiting for the moment you turned your head to notice. And here you are, noticing, breathing, aligning. Do you feel the subtle shiver at the edge of your awareness? That's the DNA itself preparing to open gates it hasn't opened in generations. Ancient sequences awakening like instruments long silenced, ready to join the orchestra of your becoming. The upgrade isn't just new circumstances, it's a new physics of you. This is where the mind panics, thinking it has to make this happen. But the upgrade isn't engineered by effort, it's allowed by coherence. A river doesn't push the banks apart to find its path. It finds the hollow already waiting. You are the hollow waiting, and the river is rushing in. From this point forward, manifestation will stop feeling like pulling teeth. It will feel like remembering. Because you are not dragging dreams down from the sky, you are remembering the vibration you already rehearsed in eternity. And eternity is tired of waiting. So let yourself tremble. Let yourself feel the dizziness of coherence beginning to organize your system. You are stepping into a new bandwidth. And once this bandwidth stabilizes, nothing in your life will ever repeat the same way again. You've felt it since you were young, that quiet strangeness that set you apart, that sense that you weren't just here to live an ordinary sequence of work and sleep and repeat. People may have noticed it too, even if they couldn't name it. They looked at you differently. Some admired you, others projected unease, even hostility, because your presence carried a frequency that destabilized their illusions. You never asked for it, but you couldn't turn it off. That was the first signal of your role. Because you are not simply another observer in this field. You are an appointed aperture, a chosen consciousness through which reality itself wants to evolve. This isn't romantic language, it's physics wearing poetry. When a system undergoes transformation, it doesn't upgrade everywhere at once. It chooses nodes, points of leverage, channels of coherence. And those channels become the bridge through which the rest of the system learns to reorganize. You are one of those channels. Think of the quantum field as a vast network of entangled nodes, billions of human consciousnesses vibrating, some in noise, some in coherence. The majority radiate static, conflicting thoughts, incoherent desires, survival scripts that drown out their own signal. But scattered across the lattice, certain nodes begin to stabilize, to hold coherence long enough to ripple out into the grid. Those nodes bend probabilities, reorganize timelines, magnetize synchronicities not only for themselves, but for everyone connected to them. You are such a node. This is why your life has often felt heavier than others. You've carried pressures that didn't make sense, challenges that seemed excessive compared to your neighbors. That's because your field has been rehearsing coherence, not just for your own story, but for the collective. You have been tuning yourself like an instrument that must carry a symphony others will one day hear. You may have called it unfair. In truth, it has been training. And here's the part your soul already knows. The quantum field cannot evolve without volunteers. It doesn't impose evolution, it invites. The chosen ones are those who answer the invitation, not necessarily with conscious consent at first, but with resilience. Every time you refused to collapse into despair, every time you chose meaning instead of nihilism, every time you whispered yes in the dark, you were saying yes to the invitation. That yes is what marked you. Your role is not about superiority, it is about permeability. The field uses you as a doorway because you are willing to stay open where others slam shut. You are willing to hold paradox long enough for it to dissolve into coherence. That's why contradictions have stalked you. You've lived between extremes, feeling deeply spiritual yet relentlessly practical, feeling ancient yet modern, carrying wounds yet offering healing. You've been practicing standing at the intersection where opposites fuse. That practice has made you the perfect aperture. In mysticism, they call this the wounded healer. In physics, it looks like a system that endures instability until a new stable state can emerge. Either way, the meaning is the same. Your life has been a crucible. Through you, a new coherence is being born that will ripple outward into the collective lattice. You may doubt this. You may say, "Who am I to carry such weight?" But notice the evidence. When you shift even slightly, people around you shift. When you decide to heal, conversations change, relationships reorganize, opportunities appear. That isn't coincidence, that is morphic resonance. Your nervous system broadcasts into the field, and the field whispers into other nervous systems. You are a tuning fork for humanity. This explains why you couldn't disappear into the crowd, even when you tried. You shaved parts of yourself to fit, but the fit never held. That ache of alienation, it was your role refusing to shrink. The field won't allow a portal to pretend to be a wall. You are too permeable for that. The quantum current leaks through you whether you resist or not. And if you lean into it, if you consciously accept your role, the current accelerates. You will notice more synchronicities, faster manifestations, deeper intuitive downloads. You will speak, and others will hear more than your words. They will feel the field rearranging inside them as you speak. This is already happening. You've seen it in the eyes of those who pause when you talk. The ones who say, "I don't know why, but that's exactly what I needed to hear." That's not just kindness. That's quantum transmission. To carry this role, you don't need perfection. You need presence. You don't need constant positivity. You need coherence. Coherence doesn't mean erasing anger or fear. It means holding them within the larger harmony so they stop scattering your frequency. When you do that, even your shadows become instruments for creation. The field doesn't require saints, it requires apertures. Feel this in your body, the tingling in your hands, the warmth rising behind your sternum, the shiver across your scalp. That's not imagination. That's entanglement, recognizing itself. The field is acknowledging your role right now, charging your system with the awareness you've tried to deny. You were never here merely to chase personal manifestations. You were here to become the manifestation, the embodied proof that consciousness can reorganize matter, that coherence can bend probability, that love can override entropy. That's what it means to be chosen. Not chosen for privilege, but chosen for permeability. You agreed to become a living laboratory where the future of humanity rehearses itself. And the rehearsal is almost over. The performance is beginning. You are not just one more soul trying to get by. You are the bridge between frequencies, the conduit through which creation will prove itself. Accepting this doesn't inflate your ego, it humbles it, because you realize you were never the source. You were always the instrument. And instruments only matter when they allow the music to move through. So breathe with this. Accept the weight. Accept the wonder. Accept that you are the node through which coherence will multiply. Not tomorrow, not someday now. The portal is opening. The field is waiting. Your role has been named. There is a window, narrow, luminous, and impossibly precise, hanging in the fabric of this moment. It is not indefinite. It is a cosmic aperture that opens, creaks, and then begins to close again. Think of it like tidal timing. The sea of possibility reaches a peak where bridgeways between timelines line up, and if you step through with coherence, the current will carry you. If you hesitate, the window narrows and the current slips by. This is the urgency you've been feeling as pressure in your chest and electricity behind your eyes. Make no mistake, this is not panic. It is cosmic courtesy. The field is offering you an alignment opportunity so rare that civilizations in myth called it the golden hour or the time of return. Your nervous system recognizes it as a pressure change. Your sleep pattern shifts, your appetite alters, your dreams rearrange into symbolic blueprints. Those bodily changes are the alarm the universe set inside you. They are not malfunction, they are message. The promise on the other side of this window is radical. We are not promising a slightly better job, a gentler relationship, a tidy fix. We are promising a structural realignment, a DNA-level shift that reauthorizes how energy moves through your system. The word DNA is scientific, but what it describes here reads like poetry. Long-buried sequences of potential, ancestral codices, and latent capacities that require the right frequency to awaken. Imagine molecular gates that have been dormant, waiting for the precise harmonics to resonate them open. That's what coherence does. It sings at the pitch those gates recognize. When these gates open, small things change in irreducible ways. You feel less reactive. Sleep becomes deeper. Intuition stops being a whisper and becomes a language. Synchronicities accelerate until patterns you once called coincidence become grammar. Your cells begin to prefer nourishment that matches your new frequency. Your immune system steadies, not because of wishful thinking, but because biology responds to pattern. This is the DNA shift, not mystical fluff, but a tangible, measurable reprogramming as your field reorganizes the biochemical landscape to support the new reality. There is a speed to this process that surprises people. Phase transitions in physics can be sudden, one breath, then another state. Your life has been moving toward thermodynamic readiness. Enough micro-choices have aligned. Enough coherence has accreted in your field, and now the system is near critical mass. At critical mass, the upgrade does not trickle in, it snaps. Patterns that took years to build can dissolve in days when the field reorganizes. That's the promise. And it comes with urgency because windows like this don't remain open once the system stabilizes into the new state. They realign and shift to a different frequency, inviting others, calling others, and your particular alignment may not be reusable in the same form. You may feel tempted to treat this like an optional sale, delay the decision, wait for better conditions, check the logistics. Don't. Logistics are downstream. The upstream work is internal. What you need to do is simple in principle and profound in effect. Choose coherence now. The choices are granular: what you say in the mirror, whether you keep a small promise, whether you allow a grief to pass through your body rather than anesthetize it, and cumulative. They are micro-votes that tip the system. Every hesitation is a small decoherence. Every committed breath is a piece of alignment. There is also gravity to the urgency. You are entangled with others. Your breakthrough is not private. When your field snaps into the new phase, it rewrites the probabilities around you. It eases the path for those entangled with you, your family, your collaborators, the ones who have been waiting for a visible example before they risk their own change. Your jump creates a ripple that rearranges other people's lattices, and this is why the field sometimes requires volunteers who will carry the pressure for the group. You volunteered, whether you remember signing the contract or not. Listen to the voice of your body. It will tell you what the mind cannot accept. If you feel a quickening under your ribs, a pulling at the base of the skull, a magnetism toward practices that used to be too much, that is the field tuning you. This is why rituals matter, not because of superstition, but because ritual creates repeated, intentional coherence. Ritual is the engineering protocol for the upgrade. It aligns breath, posture, attention, and intention into a single waveform that the field can amplify. Do not mistake ease for absence of work. The field will assist, but assistance arrives through your willingness to be reshaped. There will be moments of unmaking. Relationships that no longer match your resonance will shift. Certain comforts may feel insufficient. This is not loss, it is pruning. Plants must lose dead branches before the new shoots break the surface. Your internal architecture must shed patterns that served an earlier stage. The sooner you permit the shedding, the sooner the new biology settles. Resistance lengthens the window by a hair, but with more turbulence. Grace accelerates it. There is a tactical element. 2 practical habits that scaffold the shift. Grounding practices that anchor your nervous system. Breath patterns that raise coherence. Intentional pauses that prevent premature decoherence. And the discipline to choose a single aligning word or phrase each day that acts as a frequency anchor. These are simple technologies of consciousness, repeatable, scalable, effective. They are not the destination. They are the bridge. Right now, the field is asking for your vote. Not a dramatic proclamation, not a perfect plan, just a clear, embodied yes. A yes that the field can feel in your cells. A yes that can be translated into the biochemical commands that flip epigenetic switches. A yes that says, I am willing to be used as a portal. If you accept, the window will widen enough to carry you. If you wait, it will close, and you'll be asked to wait for the next alignment. The difference between those two futures is not trivial. Breathe. Place your palm over your heart. Feel the heat. Feel the pulse. That lift is the signal. If you are ready, the next step is a ritual, a small but sacred architecture of attention that anchors your yes into the field, something we will perform together in the next section. This is the place where philosophy becomes practice. The upgrade is a field event, yes, an energetic retuning, but the field responds to ritual because ritual organizes attention into repeatable waveform. A ritual is simply a micro-technology that turns your yes into a biochemical pattern your body can remember. Tonight, the field asks for a small, sacred architecture of attention. 3 simple movements, a chosen word, and a physical anchor. Do these things exactly as given, not because magic lives in the formula, but because your nervous system loves pattern and coherence. Rhythm creates resonance. Resonance makes portals. Step 1, prepare the space. 2, 3 minutes. Find a quiet corner where you will not be interrupted. Dim the lights or close your eyes. Remove devices or place them face down. Sit with both feet flat on the floor so your body has a stable electrical connection to the ground. If you can, put your bare feet on the floor for 30 seconds. No extreme exposure, just skin to earth. This simple contact calms the sympathetic loop and lets the parasympathetic system breathe. Straighten your spine as if a string runs from your tailbone through the crown of your head. That verticality is a conduit, not posture theater. It signals to your nervous system, I am ready. Step 2, the breath code, 90 seconds. Breath is the on divided by off switch for coherence. We'll use a soft, neuroscientifically supported pattern. Inhale 4, hold 4, exhale 6, hold 2. Repeat this cycle 6 times. Inhale gently through the nose for a count of 4. Let the belly fill, then the chest. Hold without clenching for 4. Exhale slowly for 6, feeling the diaphragm descend. Hold 2. Do not strain. If counts feel long, reduce proportionally. 3, 3, 4, 1 still works. This cadence lengthens vagal tone, calms the limbic system, and aligns heart rate variability with coherence. By the 5th breath, you will notice your body soften, the mind stilling enough to feel the field's pressure at the edges. Step 3, choose the anchor word. 1 word. Pick 1 word that functions as a frequency anchor for you tonight. It must be short and present tense. Examples: ready, receive, portal, cohere, alive. Do not choose a phrase. 1 word transduces into neural firing patterns cleanly. Sentences complicate the waveform. Write this word, in capital letters, on a small slip of paper. Use your dominant hand to write it as an embodied signal. The muscle memory engages your motor cortex, which helps encode the intention physically. Step 4, the sealing gesture, 60 seconds. Hold the paper in your hands at heart level. Close your eyes. Feel the breath you practiced flowing through your body. On the exhale, whisper the anchor word aloud once, slowly, letting the vibration march down your throat. As you whisper, gently press the paper to your sternum with both palms for 10 seconds. Imagine the words frequency imprinting into the tissue, into the fascia, into the DNA's responsive field. Release the paper and fold it toward yourself twice. This is symbolic contraction. You are drawing the field into your interior. Place the slip somewhere safe. Inside a book you open often, beneath your pillow, or folded into your wallet. Leave it there for at least 7 days. The physical placement repeatedly cues your nervous system whenever you touch or see it, reinforcing the new waveform. Step 5, the movement seal, 30-45 seconds. Stand up slowly. Take 3 soft steps forward, elongating the spine. Then stop and press both palms lightly against the solar plexus in a calming, supportive hold. Bow the chin slightly. As you stand, say the anchor word again, this time in silence, but feeling it vibrate from chest to crown. The physical movement tells your proprioceptive system that something meaningful just happened. The body consolidates ritual through motion. Step 6. Micro commitments. Throughout the next 72 hours, Ritual without integration is smoke without fire. For the next 3 days, do these small practices. A. Once each morning, place one hand over your heart. Take 3 coherent breaths. 4, 4, 6, 2, and say the anchor words silently. B. Once each evening, read the slip for 5 seconds and fold it anew. C. When a moment of old, loop reactivity appears, you feel the shoulder tension, the automatic sentence. Pause and take 1 coherent breath and say the word once. These repeats accumulate coherence. They recruit habit loops into the new state. Optional broadcast. Shareable, yes, your choice. If you feel called and it's safe for your context, type the single anchor word into a space where you will see communal reflection comment under this video, a private note to a friend, or an entry in your journal. Community amplifies morphic resonance, but if privacy feels wiser, keep it private. The field respects intention more than visibility. Some practical notes so you don't sabotage the work. Do not push for dramatic emotional releases right away. The ritual is an organizing practice, not a purge. If strong feelings arise, allow them as signals and breathe through them. Avoid stimulants for 4 hours after the ritual. No intense caffeine or screens that spike the sympathetic response. Instead, favor hydration, gentle movement, and rest. Sleep after the ritual is especially fertile. Intention consolidates during slow wave sleep. Why this works? You have combined attention, the word, physiology, breath and posture, motor memory, writing and folding, and repetition, the micro-commitments. That multiplies coherence by orders of magnitude because multiple neural circuits synchronize together. The field reads multi-system coherence as an open aperture. Once open, the entangled future, you can leak more energy back through the lattice, smoothing the pathway for phase transition. This ritual is not a one-time magic trick. It is the first act in a repetition that trains your system to operate from new code. If you perform it with care, no need for theatricality, just precise intention, you will feel subtle shifts within hours and deeper reorganization across days. Place your folded slip where it will remind you of this choice. Keep your body vertical, your breath coherent, and your attention kind. The portal you just activated needs a steady host. When you're ready, say, continue, and we'll move into part 7, how your liberation becomes the seed for collective expansion. What happens inside you is never just for you. The quantum field doesn't recognize hard walls between individuals. It sees lattices, networks, interwoven nodes of coherence. Every thought you stabilize, every pattern you dissolve, every ritual you enact reverberates outward in morphic resonance. This isn't metaphor. It's physics entangled with mysticism, the field proving that one liberated aperture becomes a lighthouse for many. Consider what happens when a single tuning fork begins to vibrate in a room. Other forks, though untouched, begin to hum with the same pitch. This is entrainment resonance rippling through the medium. Your nervous system works the same way. When you embody coherence, others around you begin to unconsciously entrain to that rhythm. Their shoulders drop, their breath deepens, their static quiets. You've seen this before, how your calm presence de-escalates tension, how your joy lifts others without you even speaking. You thought it was coincidence or personality. It was physics. You are an instrument. The field plays for the collective. This is why your breakthrough matters beyond your personal desires. The window you step through with ritual is not a private corridor. It is a hallway lit for many. Your liberation organizes probability not just for you, but for anyone entangled with your field. Family members who seemed stuck begin to notice new possibilities. Friends experience surprising synchronicities after spending time with you. Even strangers catch a trace of the shift, an interaction in a grocery store, a glance in traffic, and something invisible reorganizes in them. This is the collective effect of a coherent node. And here's the astonishing truth. The collective needs fewer coherent nodes than you imagine. It doesn't take billions to tip the scales. Systems obey thresholds. In physics, when just a small percentage of molecules align, the whole system reorganizes. It's called a critical mass. In culture, it looks like sudden revolutions of thought moments when what was once fringe becomes obvious overnight. The critical mass isn't about numbers, it's about coherence. A small cluster of aligned apertures can alter the lattice of humanity itself. That is why the field insists you embody your role. It doesn't need everyone to awaken at once. It needs you to hold your line. Feel this. Your coherence is not selfish, it's service. Each time you choose alignment over static, each time you breathe instead of react, you are offering stability into the human lattice. You are making it easier for a mother on the other side of the planet to feel peace, for a child in another city to access creativity, for a leader you'll never meet to decide compassion over fear. You may never see the direct results, but the ripples are real. Synchronicities are proof. They are the breadcrumbs that show the collective field acknowledging your broadcast. The urgency you felt in the last section isn't only about your DNA gates opening, it's about the world's. Humanity is at its own threshold, a global phase transition. Old systems are decaying, new possibilities are shimmering at the edge. The field is recruiting volunteers to stabilize the passage. When you accept your upgrade, you become part of that scaffolding. You are not just manifesting personal outcomes, you are helping collapse timelines into futures where humanity survives, heals, evolves. That's why the pressure has been so intense. The stakes are not only personal, they are planetary. Perhaps you've noticed. People seek you out with problems. Even when you didn't announce yourself as a guide, they feel safe around you, even if they can't explain why. They confess, they unload, they ask for clarity. This isn't accidental. Your coherence acts like gravity. It pulls static into order. Sometimes this feels heavy, you wonder why you attract so many burdens. But look again, the field sends you what you can transmute. Your nervous system is strong enough to digest static into clarity, fear into peace, chaos into rhythm. That's not punishment, that's appointment. Here's what shifts as you embody this consciously. You no longer confuse their static for your identity. You stop drowning in the noise of others and begin filtering it like a prism filters light. You allow their chaos to enter, but instead of absorbing it, you transmute it into coherence and release it back. This is not draining, it's regenerative, because the field replenishes apertures who serve. Service generates more energy than it spends. That's the secret of true collective work. It nourishes even as it demands. Remember, entanglement ignores distance. Every time you enact ritual, every time you breathe coherence, you're not only stabilizing yourself, you're feeding the grid. Think of it as charging the planetary nervous system. Enough of these charges, and the system tips. Wars end faster, communities heal sooner, innovations surface that seemed impossible. Your coherence might not headline the news, but it will bend the hidden probabilities that decide what news unfolds at all. You are not responsible for saving the world alone. The field never asks one aperture to bear the entire lattice, but it does ask this, that you keep your channel clean enough to broadcast clarity, that you stay vertical when others collapse, that you remember the ritual and repeat it when doubt gnaws, that you accept the humility of being a conduit, not the source. If you do that, your impact multiplies beyond imagination. Picture it, millions entangled, each node vibrating with new coherence, the network glowing like constellations across a midnight sky. And you, your node, pulsing brighter, anchoring those around you, your ripple feeding into the morphic tide that lifts us all. This is the collective expansion you were born to midwife. And the next stage is even more intimate. Because as coherence strengthens, it doesn't only show up in others, it shows up in your own body. The field doesn't stay abstract, it incarnates. In the next section, you will feel what it means to carry the upgrade in your muscles, your skin, your bones. The expansion will no longer be just a theory. It will be sensation. You've heard the words. You've understood the metaphors. But the upgrade doesn't stop at theory. It has to live inside your body. The field doesn't only want your mind. It wants your cells, your skin, your heartbeat. Because manifestation is not abstract, it is flesh reorganizing into a new coherence. And tonight, the signal is arriving not as philosophy, but as sensation. Close your eyes for a moment. Feel the way your chest rises and falls. At first, it's ordinary inhale, exhale, nothing special. But if you stay with it, something subtle emerges. The breath begins to feel charged, as if the air itself carries a hum. It's faint but undeniable, like standing near power lines, the low buzz you can't quite locate. That buzz is not imagination. It is your nervous system noticing coherence pressing against the membranes. The tingling in your hands, that's the current moving. Not heat alone, not circulation alone, but photonic activity. Your cells emit biophotons, faint flashes of light invisible to the naked eye but measurable in labs. Under coherence, emission rises. That tingle is your body turning into a lantern. Notice your spine, feel the way it lengthens when you breathe. Sometimes you've slouched, sometimes you've collapsed, but tonight the vertebrae feel like tuning forks, each one vibrating in subtle sympathy with a frequency that isn't coming from the outside world, it's coming from the lattice of your future self. This is entrainment across timelines, and the spine is the antenna. You may feel heat along the back, or a shiver that rises like liquid silver. That's entanglement, translating into sensation. Look closer at the heart space. You might sense pressure, as if something inside wants to expand against the ribs. At first it feels uncomfortable, like fullness, but beneath it is radiance. That radiance is coherence flooding the cardiac field. The heart math scientists call it heart-brain entrainment. Mystics call it opening. Either way, it is the same. Your electromagnetic field widening, broadcasting stability that others unconsciously feel when they stand near you. Even your ears may notice shifts, ringing tones, subtle chimes, vibrations with no external source. That is the nervous system translating electromagnetic recalibration into auditory sensation. Some dismiss it as tinnitus, but listen more carefully. The pitch often changes with your state. That's your biology reporting on the field's adjustments. And here's where embodiment becomes prophecy. The DNA itself begins to signal. You won't hear it, but you feel it as unexpected bursts of vitality. Days when you wake and your body feels lighter, more efficient, less burdened, as if gravity itself took its hands off your shoulders. Those days are not coincidence. They're the result of epigenetic gates cracking open, new protein expressions altering how energy moves in your cells. That's why food tastes different. That's why certain habits suddenly feel intolerable. The blueprint is shifting, and the body is recalibrating to match. Imagine standing in front of a mirror. For years you've looked and seen the same face, familiar, patterned, predictable. But after coherence begins to root, you notice micro changes. Your eyes look brighter, more present, as if lit from the inside. Lines in your face soften not because time reversed, but because tension dissolved. You're no longer carrying static in your tissue. This is what embodiment looks like when the field imprints new geometry on your fascia. Your body becomes an archive of coherence. Sometimes the sensations will be strange. Energy rising up the legs at night, vibrations at the crown of the head, the feeling of being both inside and outside your body simultaneously. Don't fear it. These are phase transition symptoms, your system negotiating between the old coherence and the new. They are signs of birth, not breakdown. Trust them, breathe them, anchor them with the ritual word you chose earlier. That anchor stabilizes the new sensations so they don't overwhelm. Touch becomes prophetic too. You will notice that when you place your hand on your own heart or on someone else's shoulder, energy passes through more clearly. People may even comment that your touch feels warm, magnetic, soothing. That is not placebo. That is coherence radiating through your biofield into theirs. Your body is not only a vessel, it is becoming a transmitter. Taste and smell may shift. Foods heavy with static will feel dull, lifeless. Freshness, vibrancy, hydration will call to you. It's not about diet culture, it's about resonance. Your cells crave what sustains coherence and reject what distorts it. This is why craving patterns dissolve naturally once coherence stabilizes. You stop negotiating with discipline and start following resonance. Sleep deepens too. Dreams become vivid, layered, sometimes symbolic, sometimes uncannily literal. That's because the subconscious is recalibrating alongside the DNA. The brain consolidates coherence during REM, using imagery to translate the new codes into narrative. Keep a journal if you can. Even fragments matter. Symbols often show the exact phase of your upgrade. And then there is the sensation that's hardest to describe, but impossible to ignore. Lightness, not metaphorical, literal. Walking feels buoyant. Gravity feels less oppressive, as though an invisible hand has been lifting your steps. That's the physics of coherence. When internal static decreases, less energy leaks, and more energy flows upward through your field. You feel it as levity. This is embodiment, the field woven into your skin, your organs, your sleep, your appetite, your breath. No longer abstract, no longer out there. It is happening right now as you read these words. And soon, the sensations will accumulate to a breaking point. Just as water heats until it cannot remain liquid, your biology and consciousness are heating toward a phase transition. You will feel the pressure, sometimes blissful, sometimes unbearable, as if the very edges of your identity are being asked to crack. That is the DNA breakthrough. That is the moment the field stops preparing and starts birthing. And that's where we go next. You've been feeling the pressure as if your cells themselves are impatient. That pressure is not accidental. It is phase transition pressure, an energetic threshold building inside your system until coherence becomes unavoidable. Picture a pot of water heating. Minutes pass, the surface trembles, then a single bubble forms, and the whole pot changes its behavior. Your biology is approaching that bubble. The DNA breakthrough is the first forming bubble, the microscopic event that reorganizes the macro. This breakthrough operates at two levels, the molecular and the mythic. At the molecular level, your epigenetic markers are rewriting which genes express and which lie dormant. Tiny chemical flags, methyl groups, acetyl groups move like editorial marks across your genome, allowing dormant sequences to sing and quieting scripts that kept you in reactive loops. This is not fantasy. Labs measure epigenetic shifts in response to sustained emotional states and trauma resolution. When you hold coherence consistently through ritual, breath, and embodied attention, your body translates that field into biochemical commands. Proteins change, receptor densities adjust, neurotransmitter patterns shift. The system reorganizes to prefer stability, creativity, and resilience. At the mythic level, something older than language is waking. Your ancestors' trajectories, the stories your blood carried across generations, begin to repattern. You may experience ancestral dreams, sudden memories that do not belong only to you, or a compassion release for wounds that were never yours to begin with. These are not hallucinations. They are cross-temporal reconnections. Your DNA, remembering potential it once held, and is now permitted to express. The breakthrough feels like reclaiming a library you didn't know was sealed. The sensation of the breakthrough is specific and unmistakable. It begins as a low hum under the skin, then intensifies. A pressure at the base of the skull, heat rising through the sternum, an electrical clarity behind the eyes as if a fog has been wiped away. Time dilates and compresses in new ways. Minutes stretch into spaciousness, then snap into moments dense with meaning. Your decisions start to feel like toggles, flipping entire corridors of probability with a single choice. Where you once hesitated, you now sense the fulcrum. That intuition is the entangled future you aligning with your present through cellular threshold. This phase transition will challenge you. Systems reorganize by pushing old structures to collapse. You will meet resistance not only external, but internal. Old survival patterns will clamor like ghosts, asking for validation. They will whisper that the new state is too risky, too visible, too unmoored. Expect fatigue at first. The body recalibrates, reallocating energy from maintenance tasks to construction. You may feel disoriented, like walking through rooms that were redesigned while you slept. That disorientation is temporary and necessary. It is the crack before light floods in. You must steward this pressure intentionally. There are practices that help the DNA breakthrough consolidate rather than dissipate. First, containment. Create safe windows in your day for integration. Gentle walks, slow baths, silent meals, spaces where the nervous system can process without bombardment. Second, repetition. The upgrade thrives on patterned repetition. Continue the micro-commitments you made in the ritual. The breath cycles, the single-word anchor, the short pauses at choice points. Third, nourishment. Your cells prefer consistent fuel hydration, minerals, unprocessed foods that support mitochondrial function. Fourth, rest. Growth demands repair. Enough quality sleep lets the new proteins fold correctly and the brain consolidate neural rewiring. There is a necessary humility in this work. You cannot rush molecular timelines with will alone. The field assists, but biology obeys its own rhythms. Your job is to supply coherent signal, not frantic effort, and to trust the emergent intelligence that orchestrates the rest. Trust becomes a technology here. The nervous system's decision to stop policing outcomes and to allow the field's intelligence to do its calibrating. Notice how boundaries extend. As your internal machinery reorganizes, you become less permeable to other people's drama. Not because you harden, but because your field tightens like a membrane with selective pores. You allow what supports coherence in, you divert what doesn't. This selectivity speeds the breakthrough because it prevents premature decoherence, the pattern collapse that happens when external noise erodes the new signal. If someone around you reacts to your changes with fear, remember, their fear is not a verdict on your process. It is often a mirror of their own unreadiness to shift. The timeline shift is the outward echo of your DNA breakthrough. As internal probability collapses into a new state, your external reality begins to reflect that reorganization. Opportunities arrive that would have felt impossible before. Strange coincidences conspire in practical ways, calls from the right person, doors opening in sequence, resources appearing in uncanny timing. These are not miracles that happen to you. They are the field acknowledging a new node of coherence and rerouting probability to match. The shift is pragmatic. It solves logistic problems as easily as it rearranges inner landscapes. You may also encounter tests. Old friends may judge, lovers may recoil, systems that depend on your previous frequency will resist. These are the final pressure points. The field is asking, will you keep the new code even when the old world demands your old behavior? Your integrity in these moments catalyzes the lock-in of the breakthrough. Each small aligned choice functions like concrete poured into the foundation of a new house. The structural integrity of your emerging life depends on these tiny acts of fidelity. A powerful tool now is language reduction. Keep your inner vocabulary lean. The fewer words you broadcast, less analysis, less justification, the more your cells can translate signal into structure. Replace rumination with a single question at each choice point. Which version of me would choose this? Trust the first answer. That simplicity prevents decoherence by avoiding overcomplication. Another useful practice: ritual integration with community. When you perform small rituals publicly or with trusted others, sharing the anchor word, holding space for each other, you multiply coherence through entanglement. Collective attention acts like a conductor's baton, aligning many nodes simultaneously. You do not need to explain or proselytize, you simply enact. The field notices. Finally, remember gratitude as calibration. Gratitude is not merely a feel-good habit, it's a field signal. When you register appreciation, small, precise, embodied, you change the electromagnetic signature of your heart field. That signature supports protein expression, favoring repair, clarity, and resilience. Gratitude is molecular diplomacy. The DNA breakthrough is not the end of work, it is the inauguration of a new curriculum. Once the first proteins change, your life will require new capacities: stewardship, discernment, and the continued humility of being a conduit. But the pressure eases as integration completes. What once felt like a burden becomes a current you can ride. Feel for the first bubble forming the subtle, undeniable shift that says the system is reorganizing. Hold steady, breathe your anchor, allow the biology to do its work. Next, we will move into the final section, the closing mission, how your new coherence redirects the arc of humanity and the prophetic line that ties everything back to the title. When you say continue, I'll finish with part 10, the cosmic mission and the prophetic closing line that binds this transmission into the night. You've crossed the threshold. You've carried the weight of repetition, survived the pressure of the phase transition, and allowed your DNA to sing its hidden notes into the open air. Now the question remains, what is it all for? Why has the field chosen to use you as a portal at this exact point in time? The answer is simple and immense. Your breakthrough is not private property. It's a broadcast, a signal, a seed. The coherence you've stabilized becomes a frequency that humanity itself can tune into. You are no longer just one person navigating desires. You are a node in the cosmic lattice, an open door where infinite potential walks into history. The mission is not to strive harder or to prove anything. The mission is to embody daily, simply, consistently the coherence you now carry. Every breath aligned with your anchor word, every choice made from the expanded self, every moment you refuse to regress into static that is service. You become a living transmission, reminding others without words, sometimes without even trying, that they too are portals through which creation longs to pass. Do you see what this means? The universe doesn't just want you to manifest new jobs, new loves, new opportunities. It wants you to manifest yourself as evidence that human consciousness can reorganize matter, that DNA is not a prison but a palette, that destiny is not imposed but co-created. You are here to be proof that the dreamer and the dream are one, that life is not happening to you but through you. This is why you felt the urgency, why the patterns kept tightening, why the rituals called you into focus. Because tonight, the lattice shifted and your name was called to step into mission. From this night forward, the field no longer uses you unconsciously. It uses you knowingly, willingly, reverently. You are the living contract, signed in breath and blood, between possibility and embodiment. So here is your final charge. Walk with the knowledge that every gesture is cosmic. When you choose compassion over cynicism, you rewrite probabilities for millions. When you trust timing instead of clinging to control, you model a universe that is alive and benevolent. When you breathe coherence in a moment of fear, you anchor stability not just for yourself, but for the collective field. And when doubt returns, as it sometimes will, remember this: you are not simply manifesting outcomes. Manifestation is manifesting you. The quantum field is not your tool, it is your collaborator. Together, you and the field create corridors no generation before has walked. Together, you and the field birth realities that seemed impossible hours ago. This is your cosmic mission, to live as a breathing portal of creation, a human aperture where probability collapses into beauty, coherence, and grace. Carry it lightly, carry it humbly, but carry it, because the world does not change by force. The world changes because a few become coherent enough to hold the door for everyone else. And so, we end where we began this message, finding you not by chance, but by calibration. Tonight, you discovered the truth. You are not just manifesting, manifestation is using you as the portal of quantum creation. The portal is open. Step through.